this region has, and it absolutely coincides with the position of Bangladesh. We want them to return with dignity, with rights, and in security. And this is exactly His Excellency has also mentioned to you right now also, and all in all. And we believe that and we know it, that the UN is keen to help us in all respects in this regard. So are many of our friends in the international community. The issue is as you have mentioned, and as we all agree, is that the solution lies on the other side of the border, and it is time that we unify our efforts to press on the Myanmar authorities. I am not saying only the authority, because there are new realities on the borders. We know that. Let us not go details into it. So we have to convince all of them and put appropriate pressure so that they can go back to their rightful place in dignity and all.
Last question.
May I request to kindly ask the third question?
Thank you. I am Mohyuddin Alogir. I am working with the research here. My question is for His Excellency, UN Secretary General. As you mentioned, there is escalation of violence in Myanmar, particularly in Rakhine. And our foreign advisor also have mentioned there is a new realities in the border, in our border. But my question is that how do you address the famine-like situation in Rakhine? Do you think this instability in Rakhine by any way will affect respectful, peaceful and dignified repatriation of Rohingyas? What's your take on the issue?
The present situation is a situation in which there is heavy fighting between the Myanmar army and the Arakan army. And obviously, in these circumstances, it will be extremely difficult to have an immediate dignified return of the Rohingya refugees. It is absolutely essential to mobilize the whole of the international community, all the neighbors, not only Bangladesh, all the neighbors of Myanmar, to put pressure to make things move in relation to the need to find a solution, starting by ceasing the violence and at the same time creating the mechanisms of dialogue leading to a true democratic solution in Myanmar that would naturally facilitate the return of the Rohingya refugees. At the same time, we need to intensify humanitarian aid inside Myanmar to create the conditions for that return to be successful. And that is the reason why one of the discussions we had was about the possibility, if circumstances allow, to have also humanitarian aid channeled from Bangladesh. But that is obviously a matter that would require the authorization and the cooperation of the parties.
May I request you to kindly ask the last question of the briefing?
Your Excellency, my name is News24. I am from the Financial Express. My question is that since the UN envoys who visited Dhaka recently, they told us that they are in touch with all the stakeholders of the crisis, including the Arakan army. So, do you think that the Arakan army is more favorable in resolving the Rohingya crisis or repatriation? And my second question is, when you talk about the international pressure on Myanmar, so do you suggest more vigorous sanctions like the Europeans do against Russia or elsewhere against Myanmar? Thank you.
First of all, the Arakan army is an entity with which I believe a necessary dialogue must take place. We know that in the past relations between the Rakhine and the Rohingya communities were not easy, and so I think it's important to engage the Arakan army in order for the full respect of the rights of the Rohingya population in the Rakhine. In relation to the second question was, I believe that sanctions are one possible instrument. Of course, we would need, and it is difficult to obtain, Security Council approval for sanctions in relation to Myanmar. But those sanctions not being possible, I think it's essential to increase the pressure of all the neighbors in relation to Myanmar in order to guarantee that fighting ends and that a way towards democracy is finally established.
The joint press briefing ends here. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Friends from press and media are invited to join for iftar at the first floor of restaurant Elements. Thank you.
Okay.